a variety of topics, and so it's really neat. I talked to John. I met him a couple of years ago at the Build conference. We obviously have online Twitter connections and things like that, but met in person at the Build conference, I guess. And I asked him, hey, like we're trying to bring more people in. Would you be interested in speaking? And he took me right up on it. And I was pretty excited about that, so I'm really grateful for that. If you don't know John, you should check out some of his stuff. 60 Seconds Revit is his blog that he runs. He's the what's your package?
Package creator,
package creator,
something called Rhythm.
For Rhythm, which has a lot of different things. Dana was telling us about her yesterday's discovery of Bang, which has to do with Revit model warnings.
Yeah.
Right? And helping to like parse the HTML file that comes out of warnings. So he does a lot of work. I would say he knows Revit, the Revit API, and Dynamo. Probably one of the top 10 guys in the nation right now. So I'm going to push him way up there a little bit. Let him fall pretty big. But I'm really grateful to have him.
Streaming it live.
You're streaming live on YouTube. So, yeah, I think that's it. And then Parallax, I'm really grateful for them. They're going to be providing a happy hour after this at Pinstripes. And we'll see most of you guys over there afterwards.
Yeah, awesome.
It's on you, John.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting us. So yeah, I'm John Pearson. Who all uses Dynamo on like a fairly regular basis? Okay, cool. There's a few that are new, heard of it, right? Everyone's heard of it, right? You're the Dynamo user people. So cool.
What's Dynamo? What's Revit?
What's a Dynamo? Yeah, so my journey with Dynamo began in 2014 at AU. So if people don't go to AU because you haven't ever been or you're looking for a reason to go, the only reason I know Dynamo is because I went to AU and I went to Marcelo's classes and picked up on it. I opened it previous to that and I got scared and ran off. So like a lot of people like say that I'm like this mega expert who's known it since I was born. I was scared at one time too. So like definitely if you ever have questions, let us know. That's really why we're doing that happy hour thing after, besides food and drink, is if you have questions, let us know because we love being involved with the community. Aaron's always on RFO and I am as well. And I'm always on the Dynamo forum, so we have continued resources. We just believe in helping people and doing awesome things, and seeing people struggle through something takes us off just as much as you. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So I already did all that. Yeah, so we got Aaron, he's a director. I've been with Parallax since February now. So pretty new. I'm the new guy. But yeah, so those are our Twitter handles. If you guys are on Twitter, feel free to tweet and tag us and all that. I think they call it tweckling if you really poke at us. So go for it. Yeah. So we'll cover a little bit of, so this is kind of a warm-up presentation for a build presentation I'm doing as well in August. So this is kind of like the beta version. So let me know if you have any comments like that sucks. We'll fix it. Also, if you have any questions, raise your hand, shout it out. I love questions. If I don't get through any of my examples, but I just answer questions the whole time, I leave here very happy. I like audience interaction. We'll see if we can get YouTube comments too. I don't know if we can, but you guys get priority because you're here and you came through the legacy reading and stuff to be here. So we'll look at a history of Dynamo, where it is now. We'll look at some methods with Dynamo Player to be able to make graphs a little more usable for people in a firm. And then we'll look at even better ways to make Dynamo Player more friendly as well. So pop-ups, getting interaction, and having fun with people for sure. So let's see. So Dynamo is currently on version 1.3.2. 2.0 is coming very soon, I'm told. So keep an eye out for that. My audio is going. Right now it's supported for Revit 2016 to 2018. So they adopt a process similar to like the licensing strategy towards 3 years. Revit 2015, there's still support if you download an older version. So you're able to go to Dynamo Primer and find that version chart as well. So you can even go back to like Revit 2013, and I'm sorry if you're still in Revit 2013. I had a client in 2015, and there's actually big API changes between the two. I didn't have 2015 installed, so I built a bunch of stuff in 2016. And then I spent a whole weekend working on everything in the 2015 API because that was not fun. Right now, so there's Dynamo is interesting because it's really grown a lot. And us being in a user group right now, Dynamo specific, not a Revit user group talking about Dynamo is pretty awesome. So that's an example of the growth that we've had. And I just want to thank you guys for doing that too, because it's really cool. So to Timon and to John. So that's awesome. It's really cool to be here. There's some resources. You guys have this whole data set as well. Well, they'll publish it on Dropbox after. All right. We're not here for PowerPoint, so we'll get into some stuff as well. I have a few examples where we have package names as well. So we'll get into that for people who are a little newer to it, about what packages are. But I have a picture of their logos and stuff too. So the first thing we're going to do is really simple. It's kind of the walk before you run thing. We're going to do something. Who else renamed views in Revit before? Like a lot of views. And like, it sucks. Yeah, me too. It's not fun. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do it in a really simple way. So when I show people stuff, I really like to map out my process, like how I think. Because that's a question I get all the time. Is like, well, yeah, because you know. If you start to try to think it out, it like helps you think computationally and figure out how to dissect the problem and build a solution. So that's what we'll do. So what we'll do is I have a whole lot of Revits open because I want to test how good my computer is, right?
No pressure, boy.
All right, so we have Revit sample model. I use the sample models a lot because that's a model you all have at home or at the office. So that way you can test these things as well. That way it's in an environment that you guys know. And you've seen this if you've ever watched a presentation, probably. So let's see. So Dynamo is available under the Manage tab. I like to think it's because it helps you manage Revit in a really cool way. They actually moved it from the Add-ins tab in Revit 2016 to Manage in Revit 2017. So if you go back to the office and you have a project in 2016 and you go to Manage, don't email me and say, John, you're a liar. There's no such thing as Dynamo. It's on the Add-ins tab, so just keep that in mind. From there, we also have Dynamo Player. Who else use Dynamo Player? You people? Awesome. Very cool. We'll go over some pretty neat stuff that they added in Revit 2018.2 as well. So for Dynamo, we fired it up through the Manage tab, and I already have it open, and it's going to be that last one, I hope. And what we'll do is I actually want to show some, just who all has seen colors like this in their graphs? Cool. We'll go through that too. But for people who are a little more familiar with Dynamo, I want to show something that I learned from someone who I don't know their name or who they are. But it's how to do a Dynamo template. So instead of always starting a new graph, so kind of like any other interface, you can start a new graph and it's blank. There's actually this samples folder where you can learn from, which is really cool. So these are some pretty neat examples that you can go through. There's this little clickable text right there for showing samples folders. So what you can actually do is embed a folder in there called templates and have a bunch of nodes already placed for you. What you can do is template, save as, and you already have stuff mapped out. So you can even start to save templates like I'm using categories. So you can have a bunch of nodes placed for categories and things like that. So that's something I like to show people because if you don't know your Dynamo graphs, you suck. So you need to make sure that you note your Dynamo graphs. That way people know what's going on. Because as with any kind of code or anything where it's let the next guy or gal worry about it, you got to let them know what you're doing. So it's good practice, and now you're going to call me out on it if I don't note them while we're going, right? But it's good practice to note your stuff for sure. What we're going to do is I have a whole bunch of elevation views in here, like a bunch of elevation views. Who thinks I created all these manually? No, we batched that. So if we have time, we'll get into that as well. How to batch your room elevations, batch create them. So what you normally do is you come in, you select an elevation, you right-click, rename, and then where the hell is my rename? Oh, it's on there. I expected it to pop up. So you right-click, rename, and you go to the prefix, you go over, or home, or something like that. And you rename it with like int underscore, or elef underscore, or something like that, or your company's initials, or hamburger, or something. I don't know. So what we could do is we can actually kind of think out that process and how we would do it. So in reality, I'd really like to do this and right-click, right? And say rename or add prefix. That'd be something that's kind of cool. If we think in a certain way, we can make Dynamo act that way as well. So I talked about packages for a second on the intro slide. These are your node. This is your node library, and this is a review for some people. But within this node library, we have access to something called custom packages. So things like that are weird names like duct tape or lunchbox or rhythm or springs. Those are user created packages that people like me and you create and deploy to people to be able to use. Packages are available under the packages tab, search for a package. And that'll actually sync for a minute, I'll probably cancel it. But packages that you should right away have are, if you go to, I don't want to open that again like a crazy. So we go to like dynamopackages.com. Packages.com. Pretty much any of these ones in like the top 10, download them and install them. That's why they're in the top 10, is because people really like those packages. One of the ones that I learned the most from is Clockwork, is what it's called, and ArchiLab. Those dudes are awesome. I dissected their nodes and I learned from them. And I even like met them at conferences and collaborated with them and learned a lot. It's a really cool community. I think Dynamo is even more than a software. It's a community of people who like to help each other out. That was number 5. So I published a package called Rhythm, which adds a lot of little bits of functionality and some fun stuff too that we might cover as well. It's interesting. I started out in Dynamo in 2014 at AU, and I have like a background. I did HTML in high school for programming. I'm not a trained programmer or anything like that. So Dynamo led me to want to learn how to use Python. So I started using Python programming, which is programming language. And recently I started using C# and bundling that into Node. So it's kind of been a really cool thing that's like let me step up to something that I really found something I'm even more passionate about, which is programming in an AEC context. So it's kind of cool. Started out doing weird little things with nodes, and like now I can like make the Revit ribbon rotate or whatever. All this crazy stuff. So yeah, go install all of these and you're pretty safe. Bumblebee's cool because it's an Excel read-write process. All right. Yeah.
Basically, like, how do you make graphic when you're missing that right now? Is
Oh.
that a group? Is that a
Yeah, so Control W is a note, and then create group, and then you have a group. So we'll try to do that as we work through as well. I save this as a template. That way, if I like give this workflow to a client or a colleague, they can say, oh, the gray ones I can kind of ignore. The purple ones I mess with. The green ones, maybe ignore, maybe not. The orange ones, something's happening to Revit, which results in an undo, so we're modifying Revit. And the blue ones are just general annotation. And then I also put what packages are required. So there's like sample package. So it's really good if you need a package to tell someone, hey, you gotta go download this if you need it. And Timon and I were actually talking about it'd be really cool if like we had something that automatically downloaded the packages for you, which I've been kind of looking at some. It's not ready because it's a lot of work, but yeah. So what we need to do is, normally I'm on 2 monitors, but we are presenting on that. And I'll minimize I'll leave it open and show you guys where nodes are. So what we need to do is kind of think out that process. So in the ideal world, I would be able to select a bunch of them and right click and rename, right? So why can't I select them and then make Dynamo collect that? That's kind of the way to think about it. This does use a custom package, so it uses Springs, which shows up in its own little bin. If we go Springs, Revit, Selection, I think, or Collector. They try to name them logically to where it's like, oh, Collector, what's that doing? Collecting things, right? And then there's this node that I stumbled across once called Current Selection. I was like, okay, what does this do? You hover, it gets the currently selected elements. Connect the Boolean switch to refresh it, and we'll cover that too. So if I drop that node in, what did it just do? It just collected these Revit elements along the side on the project browser for me. So I just went out and grabbed those. A lot of times people will go, let me collect all my views, filter them out, or the name or the view type or something like that. Sometimes it's a little simpler than that. So you think of how you might do it manually or how you want to, and you might be able to map that out otherwise, which is pretty cool. I think Aaron's like cringing because he's done it the longer way.
No idea that was there.
Could the out of the box select elements work in that respect?
So I actually tried that first because I was like, oh, I got this. This is one of the first things I probably ever did. So right click search is, and I think I'm in a command. Yes. Sometimes select model elements puts you into a loop. But that one will actually put you into a transaction that grays out your project browser. No, it shouldn't be. Yeah. That's why we have several instances open, so we'll just do it from another one.
So you couldn't necessarily select
Yeah. Yeah. So if you actually like grab that selection from your browser, you're good. So what we could do is we actually came back to thank you. Current selection. And I should have saved it. If it didn't, we'll see what the Boolean does. That's what happened to me that one time. That's what happened that last time that I did that. Then went into that loop and I was like, oh no. That's the model element that you asked me to put. So there it is. So it's stuck. It was stuck on my old, so yeah. This is kind of like a weird way to do things too, because I am forcing a selection that's kind of not allowed otherwise. So now we have those elevations selected. So what we want to do is we want to add a prefix, right? So normally I would right click on it and go to the beginning. We need to obtain the name from those. We're actually going to switch to manual run mode now because I've done this before on automatic and it keeps going with a prefix and looping through your model. So we'll go to manual. And what we need to do is we can right click and search as well. So elements, everything in Revit's an element pretty much. Dot tells me I want to do something to it. Name. Element dot name. I'll just hit F5 to run it. And really quickly, and I'll collapse my library. Really quickly, we got the elevation names now, right? So this in Dynamo is considered a string. So a string is a data type. If we're ever curious about what we're dealing with, we look for a node called object type, plug that in, and I'll hit run. I am pinned. And if we hover, we can pin it. It'll tell us what that data type is. So we're dealing with strings, which is text, series of characters. So it can be like room numbers 101A. So it can comprise of numbers and text. But it's just text. That's kind of the way to think about it. So now I know I'm dealing with a string. So if I want to add something to the beginning, I can insert it at the beginning. So if I do string dot, we can scroll through this menu too and look for it, and we can see insert. So Dynamo starts at 0 indexing. Does everyone know that? It starts at 0. If not, you do now. So it starts at 0. So what we can do is plug our string in. We double click for a code block. I like to use code blocks. Don't let the name scare you. You can type in a number pretty easily. And then you can type in a prefix. So what's the prefix that we'll put? DynamoDC. What's really cool about a code block is I can do multiple data types in it and have multiple outputs. So I have number, which is an index. If you hover, it'll ask for that to be an int, which is basically a number. And then to insert is a string. And now if we hit run, look at that. I've added something to the beginning of that, and it's not very clean right now. But if we put like an underscore and hit run again, it'll update. So right away we have a name built for us. So something that would take you quite a while to do, we're starting to build out that logic really well. In a total of what, 4 nodes with some notes. So just kind of an example of how I would note this probably. So I would create a group and then I'd do something like collects the currently selected views. Then I would probably end up changing that to what, input, I think. That way people know what's going on. That way, like we're joking about it earlier, you get hit by that train, someone knows how your Dynamo graph works and you're gone, right? A little morbid, I guess, right? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there's times I went back and I'm like, what was I thinking? We were joking the other day because I'm always on the Dynamo forums, and Aaron's like, 2016, John's helping me on the Dynamo forums from an old post, and I was like, Don't trust that John. That was new John for new to Dynamo John. Just so what we need to do now is we can see that nothing's changed in our project browser, so we need to push that change back to Revit. You can also see that there's no undos currently. So Dynamo's not going to make changes unless you want it to. So keep that in mind. That's sometimes a barrier for people to get across. So we need to set that name. So if we were to set name, see a few options. If we hover, it'll tell us what they do. There's a node called element.setName from Clockwork, which is just great for this. We're working with elements, so we're going to use that. So we'll plug name into name. And what do you think goes into elements? The elements that we got. Perfect. See, it's kind of name logically to where you can get it right. So now we can do run. It'll think for a second. And then it renames them for us. So now we've done something that might not have taken so long. But now this is saved and we can always reuse that as well, which is pretty awesome. That's kind of how I approach any of these problems in Dynamo. It's like, how would I do it otherwise? And then I work through it and think about it. So that's kind of like a baby step one, but I wanted to show that to everyone. That seemed like something that you could use. It's super simple. It's not sexy at all. There's no like crazy geometry or anything. But I'm saving myself time that I can do other cool, sexy things, right? Oh no. I got at AU, someone was laughing because I said Dynamo is the truffle pig that like digs down and keeps going until it finds your data. And yeah, there's always something that I say that people are like, did this. We'll close our session, Revit. Alright, so the next one, I'm going to stay in edit mode because there's no sense in bouncing back and forth. I know some people hate that. But who else had to hide categories in these? Do we have architects in here? There's more. Oh, wow, nice. Structural engineers. MEP. Oh, okay, good. This one is to hide some of your stuff. So if you're an architect, you probably have sections before with MEP center lines, right? Those aren't the funnest things to deal with because they're hard to hide. We had a project, I came from an architecture firm a few years ago. We had a project where people were going into every view template and hiding the centerline categories that works for views with view templates, right? So there's a bunch of views on sheets without view templates. Yeah, I know. Everyone does that, unfortunately. So we had to go through and hide it, and those views were assigned a view template. And it was this big process that was hard to audit, and it was hard to control. Everyone was pissed off, and it was like, we need to fix this. So we actually looked at a way to do it, and it got really easy recently. So what we'll do is I already have a graph open too that's just began. It's not like already done because we'll build it out. But those things, yeah, love them. Those were showing everywhere, and it was like, where are they showing? So like, we had a few options, and my mouse like zoomed out forever. I love this mouse, but sometimes you like. We had a few options. We can audit all of these and say, is this category showing? Write it to Excel, and then I can go fix it manually, right? That's okay. That's great. Or I can throw it in a Power BI chart and visualize which views are crappy. Cool, but what am I going to do about it, right? So another thing that we were able to do is if I were to go VV, model categories, and find those center lines. So I think we'll look at pipe fittings, center line, right? So you can go through and hide those. So that's manual. To do it in view templates, you can go to manage view templates as well, right? So we could build out that logic with Dynamo. So in Dynamo 1.31, so Dynamo is open source, really cool because people can contribute to it. There's this guy by the name of Conrad Sovan who does the Archilab package. He's from HOK, that's where he works right now, in the Bad Monkeys. He contributed a bunch of code to the Dynamo repo just for free from his own time that did some really cool stuff. I actually have like finished graphs here to like as my cheat sheet, so don't judge me too much. But he added some nodes to be able to deal with views. So in the node bin, if we go to Revit, we go to views, view. So this is a change that we're doing to the view. He added these nodes. Set category overrides. Really cool. So what I just was going to do manually, you can do it through scripting and batch it across a bunch of stuff. So if you could do it on one item in Dynamo, you could pretty much batch it across a whole lot of items, right? So if we put this in there in the graph, we can see set category overrides with some inputs. So we have view, category, overrides. If I hover, I can see override graphic settings as the data type. That's a pretty different data type because it's not string or int or something, right? So that one's a little hard to wrap your head around. And then hide, Boolean. So Boolean's true or false. That's what Boolean is. If you've worked with a yes/no parameter in Revit, you work with Booleans, you can add that to your resume that you're a Boolean master. So yeah, do that. So what we need to do is we need to find, it's called override graphic settings by properties. It's really hard to remember, so I have it like written down. So we'll search in this library for override graphics, and I think I even typed it wrong, but it shows up. And this node is intimidating. The first time I got this, I was like, man, what in the heck? But it's literally every option in VB. So if you hit VB on your keyboard, it's literally all of these options. Pretty cool that he exposed all that for us. We're not even going to use it, so it's kind of funny. We're not going to override lines or anything. I literally just need to fulfill that input and leave that alone. Every one of them, yeah. So I also just want hide. I need to change that to true. So all I really want to do is hide the freaking category, right? Because it's driving me crazy. So unfortunately, when you put it, no big deal. Drag it off to the side. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that, please. I've seen graphs like that. I'm like, man. So we collected views earlier by a project browser selection, right? I don't want to do that again though, because I don't want the user to always have to do that. Because I just want to hide these pipe things everywhere, right? I don't want them to have to go through and pick all the project browser, and who knows what they'll do for view templates. It wouldn't be it's not very user friendly at that point. So this is a custom node as well from Archilab, but he has a similar grouping. So if we go to Revit, View, I think it's under View, View type, he has these awesome nodes that are his own nodes that he made for his package to collect views by type. So what we can actually do is a view template is a view in Revit, basically. It's kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around, but a view template is a view. So you can actually collect all the view templates. And in order to collect these, he has another node. I think it's like get by type. And this has a view type input. And if I run it, it'll chug and it grabs all of these view templates for me. Why? That's weird. For some reason that won't fly out on me or whatever. So we can put something called a watch node. And that'll actually report what's going on. I'm wondering if it's the streaming that's kind of like making it think for a minute. Every time I stream, I get a little nervous. So now we have all the view templates collected with 2 nodes. So I also want to get all the views, right? So rather than like picking every view type, we can actually do element type. So Revit has different hierarchies. Element types are things like wall types, view types, text types, things like that. So if we do or element types, we're able to access pretty much any element in Revit this way. So if I type V, it'll go down to view. And then we can get all of those element types. So that's an element type that it's outputting. All elements and types. I'll show why this can be Dynamo player compatible here in a second too. Now if we hit F5 to run, because I'm on manual again, we'll think for a minute, and then it should output a whole bunch of views. Yep. It's pretty unfortunate the search isn't great. So like let's say all elements of type.
Any recommendations for those of us who suspect that something should be there? For that specifically, I usually just go to Revit selection.
Yeah, so if you go through the bin.
For all of those, it's way easier. Revit selection. Every way of selecting elements.
I don't know how it figures out what to give me first. It used to be better. So I don't know what happened.
I think they're in the least used order.
Really? Oh, what? I like use this on the daily.
What's weird? I think this one gives you a different order than that search up there because I use all of this up and I don't have to scroll up there.
That's interesting. Hey, there has to be something going on.
It'll also show you different things every time. So.
I also have custom packages.
Oh, you know what? I do category, but it does pop up.
All elements of type is one that really freaks out, and all elements of family type.
Those could be preset in your template though. If you just
Yeah.
add those, you know, element types, all elements of type. Categories, all elements of categories, just automatically have those wired in your template.
And you can drag them. Another thing, if people don't know about it too, is like the control copy. So kind of that familiar control copy. Use that. I love that thing. Yeah, I don't really have a reason.
Isn't you can copy without the connectors?
So if it's already fulfilled, I think it copies it how it's fulfilled, and then you'd have to deselect it. I do know that in 2.0, they're doing something to where you can like hold down control and take all of the output out on one and move it to another. And then Grasshopper lets you put multiple inputs in.
If you hold shift, it takes the inputs.
Yeah, it'll take it on, not on the output though. Oh, it does. I just learned something. That's awesome. Nice. I didn't even know. That's cool. I'm all excited now. That's awesome. And I'm connecting it from all the other ones. So if you have multiple out, I imagine if you hold down shift, that's pretty slick. Yeah, I didn't know that one. I'll just be honest. That's cool. But yeah, so I don't really have a long answer to that question. I don't really have a reason why it does that. It's kind of like a you know that node. That's a lot of the stuff with Dynamos is like if you don't know if you don't know, but then it's like if you jump on the forum most often you'll see these nodes used together, so you know that you're looking for this freaking thing, even if it's like 15 deep, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll actually go ahead and drag these over here. So now we're kind of touching on it with the Grasshopper talk, is I want to combine these into one list to be able to set the overrides for all these views, right? So like in Grasshopper land, I could actually like tie all those in and it automatically know, but not so much in Dynamo. We need to do something called joining the list. So if we search for list, not join, and that one showed up pretty nice. We can start to hit the plus sign and start to combine these lists really well. And we'll hover and pin it and hit run. So this is kind of that equivalent method. I use list join instead of list create. Okay, so I'll throw a watch node. There's something with like the rendering of my little output that's like not loving it. So list join should actually merge them all into one list, and list create will indent them. So like in Excel, like if you think of it in Excel world, you'll have like the heading and then over, little indent it. So like list create would have indented that, and I could have flattened it after. The list join will just indent it for me. So now that's my list of views. So what we'll do is we'll just pick one category. So if we search for category, you double click on a node, you can rename it, which is really cool for Dynamo Player. So we'll say, please choose what to hide. I don't suggest to do that to all of the nodes in the graph because that'd be confusing. But if you're trying to make something for Dynamo Player, go ahead and do it. And then I think we can just do a code block for true. We just want to hide them. You can add a boolean to let people choose, but we won't do that right now. And then we'll also do, if you're going to make this for Dynamo Player, you need to right-click on nodes that are drop-downs and nodes that are like string, int, double, number, slider, and you need to deselect as input. That way that won't show up, and we'll see why here in a second. I don't think this one has his input. So it won't have his input in the right-click selection if it won't work for player. I want to point out ViewType's custom node from Archilab. That one works with Dynamo Player. When the Revit team updated Dynamo Player, they said, oh, it works for out-of-the-box nodes. Here's all the out-of-the-box nodes. Not true. It works for custom packages if they're awesome people like Conrad who made them compatible. So keep that in mind. If it has a drop-down, we'll probably use it. So what we'll do now is we'll actually save this, and we'll save it into a folder called Dynamo Player. And we'll just leave it on that name, and we'll close Dynamo for that Revit session. Because we'll run this in Player. So Dynamo Player is under the Manage tab as well. So that'll take a quick second to load. and then it fires up. Right now it's showing a whole lot of stuff because I have it in my source directory. But what you can do is you can actually map to a directory. So in my case, Dynamo Player, I only have one graph in there right now that we just saved. See this little thing right here? That wasn't there in 2017 or 2018.0 and 0.1. 0.1 it was. Yes. But in 0.2, they added the ability to actually modify this thing. So now we're able to select those categories to be able to hide them globally, basically. So I've actually seen Revit add-ins on the Revit App Store for a few bucks each that do this, and you can build it in Dynamo Player, which is pretty fun. Don't tell like the add-in people; they might not be happy. What we can do is we can do something super apparent like walls or something, or doors, and then go check it out. What we'll do is we'll do doors, and this is all of the categories in Revit. You can certainly filter this down with custom nodes, probably. If we hit run, I should have tested it before I tried it in Player. I spelled choose wrong. No one called me out on that. Come on, guys. I was saving characters. That's awesome. What we can do is that's going to show an error. I bet I have an empty list in there. We're actually going to try it on section right now. Something weird. I didn't do that before. Okay, so we'll leave that on view template. What we'll actually do is I think I'm collecting a 3D view template since I'm in the sample model. 3D view templates have problems with Dynamo right now. There we go. Whew. So that's not great. So this is actually inverted, I think, to where hide false would actually hide it. I don't know why, so hopefully that gets fixed eventually, but then if it gets fixed, it'll break some of my graphs, right? So if you flip it around, it'll actually start to chug through and hide that thing in all the chosen views. If this is in a section, and you change it to interior elevation. But if we collect all the views, not internal, if we collect all the views and combine them into a list, we can actually iterate through and hide that thing. So hiding sections, not elevations, John. So now we can actually get that through and hide things in all these views. So rather than just getting views, you should probably use several of the RTLab nodes for view floor plan, view section, view elevation. But now it'll go through every one of those view types and hide those things. So any elevation view that I had doors showing in will now not show, and so on and so forth. So you can combine all those and globally hide. So in the same train of thought, you can also globally show them again. So it's undoable, right? So if I were to look for something called Boolean, try that in, save it, and PowerPoint just wants to keep saying hi. And then we can find our Dynamo Player window. It says that there's something changed, so we'll hit refresh. And I'll have a new input called Boolean, because that'll let someone choose what to do. So now you can literally hit that switch and choose the shot to show them our items. So if I hit play again and go back to that other view, which might have been the, we'll change it to false. It'll go back and reveal them again. So you can almost like create temporary modes too with that kind of thought process. And like I said, copy the view type and get by type several times for each view type. That way you're avoiding 3D view templates, because Dynamo just has an inherent problem with those for some reason. I don't know what the hell, because they exist in the Revit world, so I don't know.
Reference planes, because we did not list, right?
Yeah, the reference plane should be in here.
Because like that's the biggest thing. Sometimes we want them, sometimes they just
Yeah. For sure. And this would be a categorical hide. So it's in your view template and your views. It's not like an element hide. What you could do, no, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. The Revit link. Is it a model category?
It's RVT.
The RVT link?
link, yeah.
There it is. Nice. That's what you knew right away.
In 2015, John told me.
See, I already forgot what I told you. So yeah, that's something like you could use What was the question?
Yeah, so what do you do if you want to duplicate this instead of like multiple categories?
Good question. Yeah, so let me fire up one out of the oven that I already cooked. Right? So we'll go open, and you guys will get this whole data set, like I said. But if we go to high categories into, you literally just merge all those categories into a list. So what are all those? Center lines for all the stuff that I don't want to see. You merge them, and then you can feed that whole thing into category. This little at level thing, they added it in Dynamo 1.3. What that says is do it for each one. So that's kind of what I fussed with, so it worked. That's a lot of people are like, how'd you know that? You're so clever. I tried it till it worked, honestly.
So we just started comfortable levels.
Oh, you did. So
I'm glad I realized it was this levels.
I wonder if it'll error out again on this one. But what we could do is look at that level. And that one didn't freaking error. That's awesome.
It's erroring one of the time code now.
Oh, you got a good point. So one of the categories or views that was incompatible. So the level literally functions with these. So at level 1 says go all the way in and work with it. At level 2 says work a little bit outwards. Level 3, work a little bit outwards. That one, I don't have like a really great full explanation other than that. But in like the primer, it breaks it down a bit more. A lot of times if it doesn't work, just start trying it. And if Revit just starts turning, I hope you see, but
What happens if you run this during the temporary view properties? Is it a function?
I think it is. I think so. Temporary view properties. No, temporary view properties, right?
What does that image represent?
It's like a little stitch on. So if I were to invert this and hit run, I think it is a positive.
That would be weird because then it would do it for all of these except this one permanently.
That would be a little weird. I think it says unstarted. I wonder if temporary view properties opens like a transaction. I wonder if temporary view properties is in a state in the model that you can't run add-ins and stuff. Shouldn't be though. Oh, it ran. It ran. So if we go to VO, we want to close temporary view properties and see if it showed them now. So I was hiding a whole lot of center lines. So if we go to pipes, I said show, right? I did show.
Check another view that didn't have temporary view.
Oh, good point. Even though I just clicked run. Because that's a little weird. I've never thought of that. So let's go to another view real quick. These are on V-Compose, thankfully. Pipes. You're right. Yeah, so it does it to the active view state. If it had a template, though, it revert to what the template was. That's interesting. I never thought of that. So yeah, if you have temporary view properties running, then don't run that one to hide stuff.
No, scripts running, it takes a long time. I don't know if you're on a for a loop or you're accomplishing so much it's taking you.
I don't even know. A lot of times if I'm doing something like renaming or something fairly simple and it jumps into it, I'll wait for a bit. But if Revit like really starts to go like the gray panic mode, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's time to get out of here. So I force quit it. It depends on what you're doing too. Like if you're writing in Excel, you'll start to visibly see something happening. So you'll see Excel start to fill up and stuff like that. But yeah, unfortunately, Dynamo takes Revit with it. It like hugs it and like takes it down with it. And that's not fun. That's happened to me several times while showing stuff. So yeah, just kind of, and I'll show something in the next example. Just kind of test your scripts as you're running. But generally,
Before you run.
yeah. So generally, I'll test it in Dynamo before I try Dynamo Player. Dynamo Player is a little safer because it'll try and then quit if it gets to a certain point. But there's ways to like manage transactions, which we'll talk about too, actually right now. So, and I don't have an undo because I closed Revit. But when you make the change to Revit with Dynamo, it results in an undo because it modified the Revit database. So if you don't see an undo, you didn't change Revit yet. So if we were just building names but not setting it, we're good. So in the case of everyone's used Revit families, right? Yeah, cool. Has anyone ever used a family this deeply nested? I've hit tab 7 times. Thank you, Aaron. I exaggerated. So this is a deeply nested component to make a really parametric table. Hell yeah. Parametric tables, lay stuff out, cool. Someone wants to change the chair type, it takes a little effort, and it has to reload and stuff like that. Actually, I've had clients for like curtain wall manufacturers who have nested component after nested component on the whole facade, and they change it, and they're like, time to go to lunch, or go home. And that's not an endless loop. It'll finish eventually once Revit decides to get its act together. So Aaron kind of brought this idea up. It's like, could you convert those to in-project components? Can you say no more nested? Can you make them not so nested? So I want to get into a few other examples too. So I might open this one halfway and explain it, just to be safe. What we'll do is we have Dynamo fired up, and that's not Revit. And we will go to convert nested components in. Open it manually right now. So what we could do is there's actually this really cool node in Clockwork. Seems like glitchy on me. Also put what package something comes from. It's really nice of you to do that. So if someone doesn't have the package. But Clockwork has this really cool node called subcomponent. What it does, and if we can freeze this, I think. So if you right click on a node, you can freeze it as well. I think that froze pretty much my whole graph. So we should be good. Might eat those words in a minute, we'll see. And then we can select the table. So select the parent table, so the one that's purple. And we'll hit run. So Clockwork said, okay, cool. You have subcomponents. Pretty useful stuff. That went one level deep though, right? Because we can still see that there's one called array. So if I were to hold down Control and copy this again, and hit F5, oh man, we went another level deeper. That's cool. Hold down Control and hit that again, it'll end eventually. Another one. So what do we do? Control to copy it again. And this is not be bad about the components. This is me. This is Dynamo. This is Dynamo. There's another level. So we can keep on building that logic in, but that doesn't work so good for me if, let's say, this one's only 2 levels deep, right? This is a little bit simpler of a table. It's not as nested. So in Dynamo, a lot of times you have to start to think well, do I need to make this more adaptable to other scenarios? Which I found while building this example. I thought he was telling a dog no or something. It was So I was building this example and I was like, oh, it worked great for the boat table, and I tried on the round one and it didn't work. And I was placing chairs in the middle of the table like crazy because I got the deepest nested component, which was an arm of the table, which didn't work for me. So I ended up building a node myself that who else heard of something called a loop, like a for loop or while loop. So what we're able to do is if we start to actually do stuff that's not, and you could do it in Dynamo, but I'm not that patient, so I just did it in other programming languages that I know. What I said is, while there's still components, keep on going. So now I have a node that says, keep going until you find the last component and give it to me. So it goes all the way down. You can nest it 80 times, as much as you want, and it'll iterate through it really fast. So that's what I built, just because I didn't want to build an example that did that. But I still showed you, so there you go. So what we could do is I think we can unfreeze that. And I still had to use subcomponents from Clockwork just to verify that I was at the very end. Because I got all of the nested components, but I didn't report which one was the last one. So I still used that node. What we'll do is we're actually placing the point over here. So we'll freeze it. And we'll hit run, I think. I hope. Now we can see that this one node gives me 40 nested things. So there's 40 nested families, whether or not they're nested in each other or not. From there, I determine if it's a furniture, so a chair. And then I also figure out if it's the deepest component in these components family's thought process. If it's not the deepest component, it'll be an empty list if it is the deepest component. We got those words backwards. So now we can look at, is that list empty? If so, then ignore it because I don't need that one. From there, we can actually get the location of those nested components. So even though they're nested, we can get the point of them. And if I were to pan over, I don't have my Revit background preview on. So view, background preview, what did I do? Maybe it's not because I'm on automatic. I'm not on automatic. But I'm getting location of each one of those chairs. So additionally, I need to get the facing of them. That way I'm not sitting there trying to figure out rotations. So rather than do that manually, I'll collapse that to give us a little more real estate. We can get the facing orientation of the family. So that's a built-in node. So under the node library, if you go to Revit family instance, you can get facing orientation. From there, you can figure out how it's rotated about the z-axis and do some quick math as well. So Dynamo's a lot better at math than me too. That's good. From there, we can place a family instance and then set the rotation. And then we have to set the location again because for some reason it places them in a weird spot, and I'll show you that now. So what we'll do is we'll pan over and space this out. I want to show you something pretty cool for troubleshooting. So Revit uses transactions to make changes to Revit. A transaction is when something happens, it starts it, does a bunch of stuff, and it says transaction end. That we have an undo and it reports it. Same thing in Dynamo. Dynamo is running on an open transaction, always. So you're able to just make changes to Revit. It kind of puts Revit in a weird state, to be honest. It's a little weird. But in Dynamo, we also have transaction end. What this does is it says, give me an undo at that point. What I can do is transaction end, and see how it froze. We'll come over here, and we'll actually do transaction end. I could have copied it. We'll plug that in, and then I have to come back over here and unfreeze it. So now if I hit run, I think for a moment, hopefully, I froze and unfroze a lot of nodes there. And I think it was this table I modified. But now we can see, what are those? Those are in-project chairs. So now this table is a hell of a lot lighter, right? It's not such a heavy model to mess with. Additionally, I have 3 undos now. So now I can say, man, what did my Dynamo script do at that point? Okay, so this is where it placed the chairs. They're placed wrong, so I need to move them. So if I were to hit undo again, oh cool. This is where it placed the chairs the first time, so they're facing the wrong way the first time, obviously, right? Cool. So you can hit undo and go, okay, that's where I started. So you can start to troubleshoot it with those transaction ends. Another kind of cool thing, so we'll actually save this, close Dynamo and reopen it, just because I don't want it to remain associated with that table right now. We're almost done. Oh, and this transactions out of the box. Yeah, something out of the box node that you're able to use. I had a really cool picture for it and I forgot. Nested components keep going all the way down. I don't know if we have any office space. Any office space for that. So we'll open that graph that I just saved. But another cool thing, so if I look for, I think it's called sleep or wait, or is it called thread? Pause. We're actually able to pause it after each thing for a bit, which is kind of cool. So if I were to connect that X to that X, and it's a millisecond timeout, so we'll do like something like that. And we'll copy this a few times. So after each transaction end, if I were to tie this in, and I think we'll leave it right there. We'll hit run. Where's my table, actually? That one, I think. We'll hit run. Dynamo will actually take a little bit longer between those transactions so you can watch what's happening. It might not update right away. Revit might not catch up because I don't know if I put enough of a weight in. But you can start to see, like, oh, it placed the chair. Oh, it rotated it. See, it kept it all in one transaction. But if you slow that down, you can start to see it place the chair and then rotate the chair and step through it. Or if you just really want to tick someone off, put like 6 minutes in that timeout. Don't do that. With a pop-up, yeah. So the way that this works for Dynamo Player really well, and I probably should have done a save as, and we'll do it with the sleep. So if we go to Dynamo Player, I'll open my graph folder and we'll just copy it. That was the convert nested components. So we'll just copy that into the Dynamo Player folder too. We'll hit refresh. The way this works really well with Dynamo Player is now it's adaptable to be used on other ones. So this one's converted. So if I go to the little input button, I guess is what that's called, edit inputs, I can select another table. And I can tell it what chair to replace it with. And I can hit play. So now Dynamo will go through. Now I don't know if it will work with the transaction hands. I should probably save that. Well, we're watching it, actually. Place the chair. Rotate the chair. And then it'll move the chair. So now we're able to use that for other components. If you were to just run it in Dynamo, it remembers which ones it just placed and it'll actually move them and it'll tick you off. But Dynamo Player will fix that so we're able just to keep on using it. So if I were to do select again and hit play, we can watch it again. And I put that little timer in there so it'll take a second longer. But yeah, so you gotta watch how it happens too. So you can start to like troubleshoot it. That's one thing I actually kind of figured out while building this example because I was like trying to figure out how to placing the chairs. I had them off in space and I was getting really ticked off. So yeah, there's that one too. That's kind of Dynamo Player geared. I will just show the other one too because an hour flies by. But with Dynamo Player, there's a package called Data Shapes. Has anyone heard of this Dynamo package? You? What Data Shapes allows you to do is build UI to pop up to allow people to interact with the Dynamo graph. So he started making this when Dynamo Player came out in 2017 and you couldn't edit inputs. And people are like, well, this is useless. So he's like, hold my beer, you know, and he's like, all this crazy Python stuff. I don't know. He's a really cool guy. Maybe, yeah. So he built all these really cool nodes to do UI. So what we can do is let me open it to show what it looks like. They're a little hard to wrap your head around at first. I'll admit it. And he even admits it. That's why he like shares how to use them. But if we want to like create elevations by room, we can build this workflow because select model elements lets you select anything. So if I want someone to pick rooms, how do I do that? With Revit add-ins, people do what's called an isolated selection, so you can only pick rooms. He built that into his freaking notes. It's really cool. So what we can do is we can start to build UI. So select model elements data. What category do you want them to only be able to pick? Rooms. What do you want it to say? I want it to say that. And then from here, we're doing some other stuff. I'm generating a drop down. This is documented on his blog too. But each one of these things that say data are considered form input types for a pop-up form. And then we're able to do stuff like generate the form and do a bunch of other stuff. You guys get this graph too, of course. So go through it and check it out. But if we go to Dynamo Player, save, close, and this works in Revit 2017. I think that's a big point to make because Dynamo Player 2018.2 has the inputs, 2017 doesn't. So a lot of people are like, dang it, I really should upgrade. Yeah, you really should, but if you can't, you can't. So we hit play. This Dynamo script just runs in the background. We didn't edit any inputs. And I'm on 4K, so it scaled really weird. What we can do is tell people what to do. So select rooms to generate elevations for. So if I do this, oh, is it not filtering? Did that not filter or did it filter? I'm gonna bet that didn't filter. Oh, where'd my form go? Pick room, I didn't hit the button. Oof. I was like, guys, that'll hide again. So we got rooms only now, not grades and all that other crap I was selecting. And then we have finish as well. This is Elevation Creator 3000, also TM. And then we're going to create interior elevations. So we tell it, do it. So now what it's doing is it's chugging through the model, and it's generating elevations for me facing all four ways. I love adding that kind of stuff because, like, that's how you know someone used your tool. You're out there like, did you really put a minion laughing after it's done? You're like, oh, you used the tool. Cool. All right. Can you add that to my review, you know? So, yeah, that'll generate elevations by the room center point and shoot them outward. You get that graph, too, as well. So that's kind of that example. One other one that I shared recently that's just kind of fun, too, is since Dynamo runs on the Revit API, you can pretty much do whatever you set your mind to. Remember at the beginning I said I didn't start this whole journey as a programmer, right? So I'm always in the Revit API digging at stuff, trying to figure stuff out as well, and just see what I can do. We're building some tools and workflows for clients as well, so we're working on stuff in the ribbon. And I stumbled across a blog post from Jeremy Tamick, who's a building coder. That's his blog. He's a really cool dude. He's like Tim said earlier, I'm in the top 10 at Legends already. He's number one. That guy is awesome. He does some really cool stuff. He's like above everything. But he showed some stuff to be able to pimp your Revit ribbon. So I was trying to figure out how can I change those fonts and colors, right? And he shared some stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. I bet I can bundle those as Dynamo nodes. So what we'll do is we'll change this to run automatic, and we'll pick a color. So I changed my Revit ribbon color. If I start to slide this slider, if you really want to mess with someone, bundle that in your script, and after it runs, they'll be like, what the heck happened?
And you know when they lean your script.
Exactly. And now you can kind of kink it, and it'll actually stay for this Revit section, so use at your own risk. If you close Revit and reopen it, it'll keep going. Not super practical or useful, I get it, but I built that in C# as a Dynamo node, and what I learned along the way is going to get used in so many other ways. So even if it's something that on the surface seems like it's kind of silly, you can still have fun while doing really awesome things. That's kind of why I build stuff like that too. It's kind of something like that I take to heart a lot, because like if I'm not having fun, I don't want to do this anymore. So that's kind of something that I want to give everyone as well. Those are in the package Rhythm. Additionally, if you really want to have fun, you can just leave this running in the background on periodic. I also didn't unkink it, so now I'm like, oh crap. But now you can just leave that running. Because I'm doing serious work over here. If you guys do it, tag me on Twitter if you share it. Another one is set font. So like for the longest time, does anyone see what I'm typing? Oh, MS. Finally, I got Comic Sans on my ribbon. So if we do web beans even. Whoa. Which tab was it on? The mail icon, ambulance. So those are nodes in Rhythm as well. Like I said, Rhythm has a lot of stuff that exposes Revit API functionality. So if you like go into Rhythm, Revit Elements, there's also a ribbon bin now that I just bundled those in. But in there you can do crazy like other stuff too. Of course, like randomization workflows, parsing your files, stuff like that.
But pinstripes is just basically across